Good day, class. Our topic for today is sex determination and sex-linked genes, but our focus has something to do with sex inheritance. Here are the learning objectives. First, explain the X-linked and Y-linked traits. Second, differentiate sex-limited and sex-influenced traits. And lastly, determine the resulting offspring using Punnett square involving sex-linked and sex-influence traits. But before we proceed to the deeper discussion, let's have this think about it question. The question is, why males are frequently affected by sex-linked traits? You know what to do. For the meantime, what I want you to do is to remember this question, and at the end of this video recorded discussion, that's the time that you will provide your explanation regarding this question in the comment section below. Now, to understand sex inheritance, we have to look on its three categories. One is sex-linked traits. The second is the sex-limited traits. And the third one is the sex-influence traits. Now, the difference between the three is that if we are to look to your sex-linked traits, okay, genes or traits for a genes for a certain trait are found or being carried, okay, by the allosome, okay, by the allosome. Okay, your allosome is just the gametes. Okay, so traits are carried by either X or Y chromosomes. So that is for sex-linked traits. Now, for sex-limited traits, in the other hand, genes for a certain trait, okay, are not found on the X and Y. So not found on the XY chromosomes. Likewise with your sex-influence traits. Now, the two sex-limited traits and the sex-influence traits are autosomal in nature. So these two are autosomal. When we say autosomal, okay, traits are carried by the somatic chromosomes or the body chromosomes. And aside from their similarity that traits are being carried by body chromosomes, sex-limited traits and sex-influence are far different from one another in terms of its expression. Okay, so again, your sex inheritance, there are three modes. It could be sex-linked traits, sex-limited traits, or sex-influence traits. What makes them different? If we are to look to sex-link, traits are found on X or Y chromosomes, while for both sex-limited traits and sex-influence traits, traits are located or gene for that trait is found on autosomes or your somatic chromosomes. Now, let's try to further intensify our understanding in each mode of sex inheritance. And let's begin with sex-linked traits. Now, from what you've heard earlier, sex-linked traits, or these traits are carried either by the X or the Y chromosomes. So, having said that, there are subcategories, two subcategories for these sex-linked traits, and that is X-linked genes. So here, in X-linked genes, traits are inherited through X chromosomes. So therefore, genes responsible for that trait are found on the X chromosomes, making it X-linked genes. Now, knowing that, okay, so let me use the pen. Okay, knowing for a fact that the chromosome, the sex chromosome of male organism, human organism, are heterogametic, male. So that is heterogametic, which means to say there are two different chromosomes found on the sex chromosome of the male organism. That is, those are X and Y. Okay, so hetero means two different. So having known this fact that male, in terms of sex chromosome, sex chromosomes are heterogametic. So if X here is affected by a certain trait, this will automatically be expressed to males. Okay, if the one, okay, the X chromosome for that organism is specifically male organism carries, okay, a gene for that trait, a recessive trait. Okay, so automatically the trait is easily be expressed. Okay, so the Y chromosome here cannot, okay, the Y chromosome here cannot mask, okay, cannot mask or overpower the recessive trait found on this X chromosome. Okay, now for girls or female organism, human organism, we know that the chromosomes are homogametic, meaning it comprises of only one type of chromosome. So those are XX chromosomes. So in this case, mga anak, if only one X chromosome is affected by a certain recessive trait, this will not automatically be expressed. Okay, if only one, okay, is affected. So it will only be expressed if two X chromosomes carry the said recessive trait. Now, to further understand this, let's have this genotypes. So let's say allele A is a recessive trait for X-linked gene. So that this is a dominant, meaning normal. Capital letter is normal. Small letter A is the recessive trait. Okay, so this is the recessive trait. Okay, if we are to look for male, so the chromosome is XY, and let's say if the male is normal, automatically the allele for being carried by the X chromosome is capital A and Y. So this is normal. Okay, now for a male organism to be affected by a certain recessive trait, so the genotype must be X raised to small letter A and Y. So this is an affected organism. Okay, now for female, normal female should have this genotype X raised to capital A, X raised to capital A. So this is automatically normal. Okay, now another genotype that you can use to properly understand the concept I mentioned earlier, for a female which is carrier of a recessive trait, so it carries a normal allele with a recessive allele like this. Now, for a female to be inflected with this recessive trait, the genotype must be, okay, having this small letter A and another small letter A. This is carrier, the one I mentioned earlier, and this is affected. Okay, the female now is affected or with X-linked trait. Another category under sex-linked traits is the Y-linked genes. In this particular category, genes are located in the Y chromosome. Okay. Now, in the other term, okay, the Y-linked gene is called as Hollandric trait. So remember that if we are talking about Y-linked gene, passing of trait is only from father to sons. So definitely not in daughters. Okay, so remember that the father is the one that provides sperm carrying a Y chromosome, and if the Y chromosome is affected by a certain trait found on that chromosome, so automatically that can be inherited by the male offspring, not by the female offspring. So that is Y-linked genes. So here are the common sex-linked traits examples. So first we have here the red-green color blindness. This is the a certain condition which the person has the inability to differentiate red and green colors. So this is red-green color blindness. Another common sex-linked trait is your hemophilia. So hemophilia is a condition where individuals are missing the normal blood clotting protein. So kung may sugat siya, continuous yung paglabas or pag-flow ng blood out of his body. Okay, so that is hemophilia. Lastly, another example for sex-linked trait is your hypertrichosis. So this condition is known to be werewolf syndrome. There is an excessive hair growth all over the body. Kaya nga siya tinatawag na werewolf syndrome. Now let's have the sex-limited traits. Now from what you've heard earlier, so genes for a certain trait for sex-limited traits are not found on the X and Y chromosomes. So therefore, sex-limited genes are present in both sexes but normally expressed only in one gender with appropriate hormonal activator. This hormonal activator is the one that allows secondary sex characteristics to be expressed. Okay? So kaya nga ito anak sex-limited traits. It only limits the traits limits only for a certain gender. Okay, a certain gender to be expressed. So here are the examples. So beard growth in males. Okay, wala naman sa babae. So that only limited for boys or male. So here another example for lower forms of organism. We have this rooster, combed in rooster. The one I'm pointing using my cursor. As we compare it to the hen, rooster has larger comb compared to hen. So that only applies for rooster. Okay, that trait only applies for rooster, limited only for rooster. And lastly, we have this fan-like tail feathers in male peacock. And if you're going to notice, this is the lady peacock. As we compare it, my feathers, fan-like tail feathers, yung male peacock to get the attention of the female one for them to reproduce. Okay, so this only limited for a certain gender. So that is sex-limited traits. Now last mode of sex inheritance is your sex influence traits. Now here, this mode of inheritance are autosomal in nature, and these traits are influenced by sex alone. And the other term used to to this kind of mode of inheritance is sex-controlled character or sex-influenced character. And this simply means that traits or trait appears on both sexes but is expressed to a different degree in each gender. Now, here's the thing. A trait could be dominant to one sex. Okay, kaya nga it is only expressed to a different degree in each gender. So could that particular trait could be recessive naman on the other gender. But remember that the trait appears on both sexes but they differ lang in the manner of expression kung mas mataas yung degree on the one gender or on the other gender lower naman. Okay? So, here are the examples of sex-influenced traits. Example only. This is common. One common sex-influenced trait is baldness. Okay? Now, baldness is both this trait is both appears on male and female. Okay? So, both in males and females. But dominant ito, anak. Dominant ang baldness sa male due to hormone. The hormone testosterone. So, therefore, this is recessive to female. Okay? So, that is sex-influence trait. Now, let's have an activity to assess our understanding regarding the topic, and let's try to solve problems related to sex inheritance. So the title of this activity is When Gender Matters. So the direction is just read and analyze the problems below. Using a Punnett square, show the results. So let's have problem number 1. So here, a woman who is heterozygous for normal vision marries a man who is colorblind. What are the chances of them having a son or daughter who is colorblind? Now we are asked to identify the probability for both parents to have a son or daughter who is colorblind. Now, let me use my pen here to show you the solution for this part. Now, the trait that we're talking here is about vision. So let's note it. The trait is vision. Now, one could be normal and the other one could be colorblind. So the allele for colorblind is small letter C and the allele for the normal vision is capital C. Okay? So wag malito regarding the letters that we're using here. Now let's identify the genotype of the parent based on the problem. So the mother is heterozygous for normal vision. So when we say heterozygous for a normal vision, that simply means that the mother is a carrier. Okay? A carrier of colorblind allele. So that simply means the genotype is X raised to capital C and X raised to small letter c. So this is heterozygous in terms of the allele for vision. Marries a man who is colorblind. So automatically colorblind na yung tatay. So we have to cross that to X raised to small letter c and Y. This is the genotype for the father. So X are the chromosomes, no? So allele is found on this one, likewise with this part. Okay? So this is a sex-linked trait. So we have to show the possible genotypes of the offspring using Punnett square. Let's draw a table here. Now let's put the first letter of the genotype with the allele for the mother, likewise on this side, also for the father. Now we just simply cross it. Capital first and small letter. Do this on the other side. And also here. And here. Now, looking to the possible genotypes, we can write here on this side that we have one. If we're going to read the gender, this is female. Female carrier. because it has normal vision allele and colorblind allele. So we can tag it as carrier. Another female offspring here, one female offspring, which is now a colorblind because of two recessive alleles. Colorblind. So here, the gender in this part for the genotype is male, but this is normal because of the allele normal. Now this one, another male offspring, but this time this is colorblind. Now we are asked to identify chances, so we have to provide percent value in order for us to give the probability of having a colorblind son or daughter. So looking to this one, we have to look on the genotypes over 100, no? And we have to give each of this genotype a 25%. 25 also here, 25. So all in all, this is 100, right? Now, we are just simply looking for son or daughter who is colorblind. So therefore, looking to this solution, our answer for this question is that we have 25% son, which is colorblind, and another 25% for the daughter to be a colorblind. Okay? So hopefully you understand the manner of how we solve this problem. Now let's proceed to problem number 2. Now this time, the question is, what percent of male children will have a male pattern baldness if a homozygous bald male mated with a normal carrier female? So from what you've learned earlier, this is sex influence trait problem. No, this sample is for sex influence trait. So our trait here is about being bald and being normal based on the problem. So we know baldness is dominant to male, and that's the reason why the allele that we have to use here is capital B. For normal, this is recessive for baldness is recessive for female. So we have to denote it small letter B. Okay? So let's use this allele in order for us to write properly the genotype of the parents. So from the problem, a homozygous bald male mated with a normal carrier female. So the father is bald. So X raised to B, Y raised to B. Okay? This is just to indicate the sex, but we're looking to these alleles. Just to note the gender. Mated with a normal carrier female. Normal, which means to say with, but a carrier with normal allele plus allele for baldness. That's how we write the genotype of the mother. So let's draw a table here to properly cross the allele for this Punnett square. So in this side we have X raised to capital B, Y raised to capital B, and this X raised to capital B and X raised to small letter b. We just simply cross it. We have this one. And here, this should be small letter b. And Y capital B. Okay, so in this case, we're just simply asked to identify percent of male children who will have male pattern baldness. So upon looking to the genotype of the possible offspring, we can write here that we have one female who is bald. Okay, did you get it? Okay, because both of the the alleles for baldness is present on this genotype. So another male, one male who is bald. Okay. Here, one female carrier. So with with baldness allele and normal allele. And here, so automatically, so this is one male who is bald also. So in this case, even if we have here one allele for normal condition when it comes to baldness, automatically, if there is one allele for baldness, ma-overpower niya na tong recessive, okay, allele. Kasi nga, for male, this is dominant, okay, due to testosterone level. Okay? So we are just asked to identify the percent of male children with male pattern baldness. Upon checking here, this is 25%, 25%, another 25, and 25 here. Now, adding this one, automatically, this and this, we have 50% chances of having children with male pattern baldness. Now, let's have the last problem. So here, a woman who is homozygous for normal blood clotting marries a man who has hemophilia. What are the chances of them having a son or daughter with hemophilia? So, but before we go ahead and proceed to the solution part and identify the chance of having an offspring or son or daughter with hemophilia, let's identify first the trait that we're talking about based on the problem. So that trait is about blood clotting. One is normal and the other one is hemophilia. This is sex-linked trait, right? So a recessive condition. So normal is capital H. So hemophilia is recessive, so small letter H. Okay. Now the parents, let's identify their genotype. So woman is homozygous for normal blood clotting. Will automatically X capital H and X capital H as well. So normal. Okay. Marries a man who has hemophilia. So X with small letter H and Y. This is sex-linked trait, specifically found on your X chromosome. This trait. So we have to draw a table here for Punnett square. And let's put the genotype for the parents, for the both of parents here. So X raised to H, X raised to capital H, and here X raised to small letter H and Y. So we have to cross them. So we have this one, and here, and in this case, and in this case. So these are the possible genotypes. Now, upon looking this one, the genotype in terms of the phenotypic, so we have two, same lang naman sila, two females, okay, with females that are carrier of hemophilia allele, okay? But again, dominant yung normal blood clotting, so it will overpower the recessive one. So two females na carrier of hemophilia allele. But here, these are males. Same lang naman din. Then this time, this is normal, right? Normal. Now, going back to the question, what are the chances? This is 50%. Kasi dahil 2 yan, mga anak. Likewise, this is also 50%. But looking to the problem, what are the chances of having them a son or daughter with hemophilia? As we check, 0%. Okay? So, that's the solution. And that's the answer for this problem number 3. Now, let's go back to this think about it question. The question again is why males are frequently affected by sex-linked traits. Now, this is the right time for you to type or to provide your explanation in the comment section below. And let's see if your explanation is correct in order for you to have additional golden points.